We've got a new public beta out today. It's version 1.0.5e. This does not have Slough Creek, but that is coming soon. This does have a bunch of fixes and improvements. You can see the full list in the patch notes below, but I want to take a look at a couple of them here. In Wolf customization, there's this new readout, genetic coat color, and it says gray or black, and if you click the little question mark, you get this pop-up that talks about the genetics behind the coat colors, and we've talked about this in a couple devblog videos. But basically the idea is that there's a gene variant that controls coat color in terms of being black or gray, which is really non-black. It could be brownish or something like that. And we're using that in the game because it has some interesting effects on the lives of wolves. But it's been hard to know for sure when you're creating a wolf whether that wolf is considered by the game to have a black coat or a gray coat. And so we've got this readout now, and you pick a coat and it'll show the default status of that coat, which is usually gray, although there are some that are black. And then as you slide the tint slider to make it darker, at some point for each coat it will turn to a black coat. So last year we sat down and looked at these coats with the sliders and made our best guess as to when it's gray and when it's black. It doesn't work perfectly because the way the tint slider works, it's not as natural looking as a real coat. So some of these might look a little arbitrary or a little off to you, but this is our best guess. And this is how the game has been considering it all along. We're just showing you this information now so you can better understand the wolf that you're creating. And the game will use the same breakpoints between gray and black for stranger wolves and dispersals as for your wolf. So if you play around with some, you can get a much better idea about how that works. Since we've talked about it before, I'm not going to go into the genetics and how this affects it, but got these older videos that go into that in some depth. So we decided that was an important change to add with Slough Creek coming up because these genetics between your wolf and your mate do have an effect on your pups. It determines their coat color and that has an effect on their health. You can learn more in the videos. Check out the links in the description below. Another change that came about as we're working on Slough Creek is the way the game has always worked is when you've got some food in front of you, for example, a carcass, if you tap once on the space bar, you eat, and if you double tap, you pick up a chunk of meat. And that's worked fine, but sometimes the game can misinterpret. You do a double tap, but the timing's not quite right, so the game thinks you did a single tap. And since in Slough Creek, that can be a more significant difference between regurgitating and picking up a pup, so we've changed the double tap into a pressing and holding the space bar, or on the control of the A key, you press and hold it for a second. Whether you're targeting a snowshoe hare, or a meat chunk, or a pup, or in the summertime in Slough Creek, a fawn or calf carcass, this is just a clearer, less ambiguous way to tell the game what you want to do. But if you train yourself to do the double tap, it's going to take a little bit of relearning. Now, Slough Creek is really coming along, but still needs some work. But in anticipation of its release, we've got some new merchandise up on our Redbubble store. It's the Pups collection, and we've got a handful of new designs that you can put on all sorts of products, featuring the adorable pups that are coming soon in the Slough Creek episode. Susan's been working on these, doing all these different variations, especially of the pup pandemonium. I think my favorite one is the clock. What time is it? It's pup o'clock. So if you look for something like that, check out our Redbubble store. But like I said, we are moving forward. Unlike this confused little pup, we are moving forward surely and steadily to Slough Creek's release.